Hey folks, this is Mike Tango Whiskey coming at you with the Hurt Feelings Report, episode 36. So the Hurt Feelings Report is my weekly show where I review all of the comments from the past week on my videos on my channel, and I highlight the very best insights and the very best insults. So it's therapeutic and cathartic for me, and it's entertaining and hilarious for you, okay, at my expense. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the prepping channel for the 68%, we're calling ourselves. We're the part of the prepper community that's in the meaty part of that bell curve. Like, we want to be prepared for what's to come, but we're not quite tactical tier 1 operator ninjas yet. And we're not off-grid survivalists, bushcrafting, collapse preppers yet. We may be working our way to those edges, but we're just not there yet. We're normies. We drive sedans and minivans. We live in the suburbs, in the city, go to soccer games and, I don't know, Pilates or CrossFit maybe. So that's us. That's the 68%. So if you're new, welcome. If you're one of my loyal OG original subscribers or viewers, you guys know that I love you. I love you like, what do I love you like? I love you like this bottle, this Clean Canteen bottle. So I have a Clean Canteen single stainless steel walled bottle problem, and I pick every single one up that I find. I purchase it in the thrift stores, and this one's great. It's a great color. It's got a classic, it's the classic 27 ounce, I believe, and I carry it everywhere. But every time I'm at a meeting and I pull it out and I set it on the table, there's a wobble. You guys see that? You guys see the wobble? So I love it. It's with me all the time, but it's starting to piss me off. Like this little flaw is a character flaw that is insurmountable. I've tried to flatten the bottom like this. I'll try and find the spot, but I haven't been able to do it yet. So I love you like this. You're near and dear to my heart, but I'm probably gonna dump you very, very soon, okay? All right, so let's jump right in. I find one comment that's super spicy, and then I go back to the top and read the comments from now backwards over the past week. So I want to start with a comment on my war, debt, and control video where I talked about what are we doing over with Iran? Like, why are we there? What are we doing? And Austin H says, 47 years of our troops being killed overseas by a tyrannical Islamist state who chants death to America. That's the reason. He says that's the reason we're in Iran. I wanted this along with a lot of other Americans. So Mr. Austin here, along with apparently a lot of other Americans, wanted us to go to war with Iran. But then he says, all caps, this isn't a war. It's not a war. I'm like, oh, well, is it? Are you sure about that? It's an operation that will be over in about a month. These murderers just murdered 30,000 of their own people for protesting. There are many other reasons that I could go into, but it would take too long. Okay, Mr. Austin, let's look at your perspective here. You know, when I read this, it fired me up because I was in the military for almost 25 years, and not a combat guy. I was a support guy, a mechanic in the Air Force. But I got sent places, and I remember the narrative and the story that was being given to us especially post 9/11. You know, the reasons why we were going places and doing the things we were doing all over the place. And what we were led to believe was that it was for freedom, that it was for democracy, that it was for these poor people. What pick your people group, that it was this poor people group, you know, and because this guy was really mean and he was this and he was that. And I got to tell you, about maybe 10 years in, I saw and heard enough to understand that none of that was true. I've talked about this book before, but there was a book that kind of was my red pill moment for international policy. And it was Confessions of an Economic Hitman, where he pulls back the curtain and he details, John Perkins was his name, and he details the real reasons why we go to war. okay? And I'll give you a hint. It's not freedom. It's not democracy. And it's not because whoever that guy is in charge is really, really bad. Those aren't the reasons. Those are the reasons that are given to us, the public. Those are the reasons that are fed to us. Those are not the reasons why we go to war, okay? We go to war for strategic placement. We go to war for resources. We go to war to destabilize. We go to war for all kinds of other, because it's very profitable too. Like it's not just one reason why we're there. It's lots and lots of reasons that are interconnected and that benefit the people making those decisions in ways that don't benefit you and me. And all of those reasons, as they're stacked on top of it, those are not the reasons that are given to us. So you, Austin, I don't want to pick on you specifically, but your statements about like you and a lot of other Americans wanted this because they don't like us. For 47 years, they've been killing our troops. How has that happened? Why has that happened? Right? This is like you walking up to someone's porch, knocking on their door, and when they open the door, you punch them in the mouth. You break their teeth out, right? They turn around and pull out a pistol, and you're like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? What are you doing here? Brother, we walk around kicking hornets' nests and then acting shocked when we get stung. Like your whole comment here, and this isn't war. Of course it's not war. No, nobody's declared war in, I don't know, what is it, like 3 decades? We haven't declared war on anybody. They don't have to declare war anymore. All they do is send in the CIA ahead of time to destabilize things, right? Then we send in special operations under the cover of nothing, like we don't know about that, or we send in contractors so we don't have to report it, right? Destabilize everything. Then we do a shock and awe campaign, just drop all of our munitions and bomb it. And then we go, this isn't a war though. No. It's much shorter than war. Congress hasn't declared war. That's kind of the point, that presidents don't even bother to go to Congress to get authorization to go to war. They don't have to anymore because they can say exactly what you're saying. No, it's not a war. Whoa. I know it looks like a war, but it's not actually a war. It's an operation. It's an operation, and they choose that word on purpose because an operation uses a scalpel, right? It's a delicate, specific, very tiny, fine-tuned, cutting away, it's an operation, right? Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. We've just found a way to bypass all the permission structures, bypass the Constitution, bypass the parts of government that are supposed to authorize it. Man, you've got the wool pulled over your eyes, brother. I'm sorry. This operation will be over in about a month. I remember George Bush on the carrier. What aircraft carrier was that? He's like, mission accomplished. Yeah, we'll be done with Iran in a month, like Venezuela, right? Yeah. We're over there because of oil, because, China needs all of that oil from Venezuela and from Iran. China's the primary purchaser. We're over there to destabilize them. We're over there for some strategic reasons with other countries in the area. We're over there. Bro. And even them killing their own people, I'm not even saying that Iran is good or the people in charge over there are good, but that 30,000 people number that you have, I would even carefully consider who told us that, where that information came from, and who fed it to us. Yeah, there are many other reasons that I could go into, but it would take too long. I'm going to steal your last line, and I'm going to use it against you, okay? So, anyway, let's move back to the top. You guys are like, Mike, tell us how you really feel. Yeah, well, that's how I really feel. Okay, we're not ready. My AI video. I talked about billionaires building bunkers, and Adam Honan says, the bunkers aren't because of AI. They're to survive the nuclear attacks, that will result from nations fighting for resources on the downslope of peak oil. Okay. Are they nuclear bump? Maybe. It's for all that. It's for all of the above, right? It's for civil unrest. It's for marauders. It's for... This is really bugging me. It's for all of those reasons, right? It's for anything that they think is good. It's worse. Look at it. You see it? That's going to frustrate me the whole time. I better put it off to the side. So, peak oil, civil unrest, nuclear, yeah, all the stuff and things. My point was that they're saying the billionaire class right now is saying one thing, you know, it's going to lead to a utopia, and in reality though, in their own lives, they're prepping for complete apocalypse. The point was hypocrisy. It wasn't necessarily what's the specific reason why they're doing that. It's just the fact that they're doing it and saying one thing and then doing something else. Function first, same video, the AI video. He says, entry white-collar jobs will for sure be gone from what I've seen. Plumbers, electricians, HVAC is going to take longer to replace because of the various previous infrastructure was built by humans doing crazy human things, so it's going to take much longer to replace. However, due to the large decrease in value of white-collar work, it's going to rapidly push people into the trades and drive down wages, in my opinion. New construction blue-collar will be the first to be automated away, but maintenance positions will be harder to replace. That's probably true. I think that's probably true. So building brand new houses. So I always get comments about from carpenters and plumbers and electricians and HVAC guys, and they're like, not me, not me, not me. Robot can't frame a house. And then when was this? I just read an article on The Sun. This was from 4th of March. So it says, futuristic 3D printed homes hit the market in California. First house was built in 24 days, and they used and sells built in 24 days, and it sells for $280,000. So they have a whole neighborhood that was built in California. It's the first 3D printed house to hit the market, I guess, at a price point of 280 grand. It looks fantastic. It looks amazing. They used concrete to do it. It says $1.1 million 3D printers have churned out at least 5 new modern properties so far, with the first one taking only 24 days to complete. It's a 1,000 square foot house. It's initial installment in a 3D printed neighborhood in Yuba, California. The original house hit the market in 2026 for $280,000, which is $50,000 cheaper than the average price in the area. Cost down, it's less waste. So listen to this. The walls, which are layered inch by inch, are bulletproof, able to withstand ballistic fire from handguns and machine guns. Now, they don't understand what that statement means, but the point is it's bulletproof. The buildings are also fire, pest, and mold resistant. That's it. We're cooked. The home construction, that's what I mean. So some people are like, well, a robot can never frame a house. We won't need frames. Do you understand? They're just gonna whoop. Like when a $1 million machine can crank out 5 houses in a month each, in 5 months. Every contractor with one of those $1 million printers is gonna make money, and everybody without one is not. They're like, oh, it'll take us a year to build your house out of sticks. And it'll be $50,000 more? No, thank you. Yeah. No, thanks. Anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting when I saw that article. This guy was like a DJ or something. I don't know. In my shill spill, I got a tactical tailor backpack for $4 at a Goodwill. So Tonette says, oh, Mike, buying that bag that you know you don't need to keep it from someone else is hoarding. We prep, we don't hoard. If you wanted it for an extra one or to give away, fine, but not to keep it from someone else. You are on the naughty list. First of all, Tonette, don't tell me what to do, okay? Yeah, here's how I do. So I'll buy bags or knives or water bottles, and then I'll cleanse. And then I'll buy, and then I'll cleanse. I end up giving them away or giving them back to the thrift store. The only challenge is, so I just gave some water bottles away to the Salvation Army locally. And then the next week I was in the Salvation Army and I saw my water bottle on the shelf, and I didn't remember that it wasn't mine or that it was mine. So I still picked it up and I almost bought it. And I was like, man, why do I like this bottle so much? Oh, it's mine. That happens to me all the time. I'll donate stuff and then I'll see a shirt on the rack. I'm like, man, that's a nice shirt. I would look great in that shirt. It's because it was mine and I gave it to the thrift store 4 days ago and I'm in there almost purchasing it now. I have done that where I've bought the same shirt twice. I was, oh crap. Yeah, it's a problem. Thank you. Weekly preps. So Twestguard says, brother, you need to get into reloading if you want mass stores of ammunition. I know how valuable reloading is, but as a 68 percenter, I don't know if I want mass stores of ammunition. Like, to me, that's more post-collapse, you know, and right now as a middle guy, like, I don't know. I know there's a big debate out there. How many rounds of ammunition do you need? My recommendation is to shoot for like, see what I did there? Shoot for like 1,000 rounds per caliber, you know, and then maybe have your, you know, some defensive ammo or some better, higher quality ammo for each type. But yeah, I don't know. I know, but reloading is such a thing. Like, you need all the stuff and all the things. And I know it saves money, but it takes a lot of time. Right now, that equation doesn't quite work out for me. My time is so limited that reloading would be a pretty big drink. I say that, but then I have a bowl full of pennies over here that I haven't gone through yet to sort out the copper pennies. So you might be right. You might be right. He says 115 is fine for target shooting, but for practical use, you need a heavier projectile with technological advancements, and that gets expensive quickly. Yeah, I don't know that I completely... I know some bullets are better. I remember when I put my sling video out, people were like, you use ball ammo in your home defense like it was Hersey. I know, doesn't the military use ball ammo? Like, they don't use hollow points, right? In war? Who was it? The sheriff of Baghdad? I remember hearing him talking about it. He goes, ball ammo has killed millions and millions of people. Like, yeah. Tommy G with my firearms video, he says, when it comes to magazines, 99.98% of the time, one mag is all you need. 2, 99.98% of the time, if you need a second mag, you're going to need magazines 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's a good point. I kind of agree with that. Like, you know, you'll never just need 3 magazines, right? Like, either it's a violent encounter where the stats show that it's 10 shots or less. Like, most firearm pistol engagements are, you know, single digit shots fired. When it's more than that, it's way more than that. It's like, this is an active shooter or it's some sort of firefight you're getting into, which is really bad. So if you need more than 1 magazine, then you need like 8 magazines. I kind of like that. So you would go straight from like your pistol and your primary pistol with your magazine to like chest rig with 8 mags. That's probably true. I like that. War, Debt, and Control. So Rod, Chris, Moto Vlog, well, that's a long name. That's really important to discuss with all the countries to settle the problems, most likely to those big countries. I don't know what that means. Hopefully the U.S. would interfere in our country directly to the most corrupted president and the present administration in the history of the Philippines. So this guy lives in the Philippines. More people here suffering from this outrageous corruption. Also, President Trump must rescue his friend, the former President Duterte in ICC. Very interesting video, worth a listen. I wondered this, like, do people in other countries think, oh, America needs to come and do that for us? And I want to readily acknowledge, like, I know that there were, under a dictator, people suffer, right? Venezuela, Iran, there's tons of countries that you can pick where that's the case. I just don't know that it's America's obligation to go fix that. You know, to me, there's limited resources. I understand them, but the problem is the government presents us that moral equation, right? Oh, look at these poor people, such and such, over in this such and such a place, and that's not the reason they're going there. They don't pick the ones that are suffering the most. Otherwise, we would be in some other places where there's people suffering the most, and we're not. You know, countries that are poor and they don't have a lot of resources and they're not strategically located. We're kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, that's terrible what's going on over there, but we're not invading the Philippines anytime soon. Like, it's not going to happen. We are at war. We are actually, Grip on Reality, War, Debt, and Control, the video. We are actually at war with China. Venezuela and Iran are both choke points on oil supply to China. World War III began some time ago. Yeah, China's attempting to get away from the petrodollar, and the whole system is based on the petrodollar. So there's also some pretty good evidence out there that it's not just the petrodollar that we're over there for, but it's also, like, a few years ago, I think it was Catherine Austin Fitts released a list of 8 countries that weren't on the banking system, the reserve banking system yet, that they weren't playing along, and we've knocked off like 6 of those 8 countries, and Iran's on that list too. You know, they're the ones that have refused to cooperate in the banking system that we need in place to do all the things that need to be done, right? To usher in the whatever, the stuff and things. We're not ready. He says, leave it alone, or leave it to men. C65. Oh yeah, that's what I want to do, is buy into and support AI so that it can boot us out of our jobs even quicker. F that. Oh shoot. He said F that. Okay. Yeah, I know. I some days I feel like that. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine. So at work, I've been leaning into AI. I'm at the point where I'm training other people on it. And the faster it moves, the more and more I feel like at some point soon, for specifically, that I'm just going to go, I don't know if I'm willing to put in the time and effort to stay up to date, because it's the capability of these models is doubling that number's getting smaller. It was like every year, then it was every 7 months, then it was every 4 months. Right now, I think it's down to like every 2.5 months. There's this meter graph that keeps going like this, you know. You might be right. You might be right. So I'm sprinting to keep up with this train, and pretty soon that bullet train's just going to go, and I'm going to be running alongside of it thinking that I'm keeping up, and I probably won't be. Way back in my 10-pound get-home bag video, S-Ray says, one piece of advice: learn to fast. Being fat adapted is invaluable and was the key to our survival. You will be shocked at how efficient your bodies are when they're not constantly bombarded with food. I did a 7-day Robin Sage even at Camp Slappy with a day of Camp Slappy. Did you make that up? I had a 25-pound pack with 2 MREs for a week. I ate 1 MRE on day 4, traded the other one for something more valuable. Never felt degraded or fatigued. My classmates were amazed. The instructors asked me how I did it. This is a great point. So TOTSI, so in an emergency, in a bug out, in TOTSI, in SHTF, there's just not going to be as much food, right? That's number one. And number two, you're just not going to have all of this leisure time to eat and to think about food. Most of us who are in the West, we're fat, happy, we're comfortable, we're warm, and all we think about is food. Like, we wake up and we're like, what's to eat? And then we eat, and then you drink coffee, and you're like, okay, now it's time to start my day. And you start your day and you do like an hour of getting ready to work, and then you work for an hour, and you're like, it's lunchtime, what's for lunch? And then you eat a whole meal, and you do the same thing. Oh, I'm tired. You go for a walk, and you come back, and then you get home, and you're like, oh, what's for dinner? What's for snack? And you got a snack. Yeah, that's not reality, right? That's not going to be the reality when times get tough. I love this guy's thing. I've talked to Chris from Wasteland at Wednesday about this, like collapse living for a week. He's into collapse living like it's now. You live now like the collapse has already happened. I think that's wise advice. But living like a collapse, spend a week acting like the collapse has already happened, right? In fact, I might do that. That'd make a great piece of content, right? Where you eat, 1 meal every 2 days, no meat. You walk everywhere, you carry everything on your back, like you just spend the whole week like that. Maybe I'll do that. I love that idea. But fasting, I have fasted quite a bit in my lifetime, not for prepping purposes, but for religious purposes. And the effect it has on your system is dramatic. The first day you think about food, after about 48 hours, the hunger pains stop, and you get this clarity. It's really weird. You stop being hungry, the headaches go away, the sugar headaches, and if you're addicted to caffeine, the caffeine headaches go away after about 48 hours. And then you just get this kind of mental clarity, this lightness. The fog of hunger goes away. And you'd be shocked at how, I understand why it's a spiritual practice too, because when you're not feeding your flesh, the spirit, I don't know if this is going to sound woo-woo to some of you, but the spirit is allowed to kind of come to the front, because you're not just worried about your flesh all day, every day. What feels good? I'm cold, I'm hungry, I'm tired. When you're not doing that, your spirit is allowed to do some thinking. It's really strange. I highly recommend it. Go for 24 hours, go for 48 hours. I think the longest fast, I always fall short. So if I plan for 3 days, I go 2 days. If I plan for 5 days, I go 3 days. I shot for 7 days one time, and I think I fasted for 5 days straight. And I lost like 15 pounds in 5 days. I looked great in the mirror. I was like, "Urgh." And you just have this mental clarity that's not attainable when you're just worried about staying warm and staying cuddled and staying fed and, full. And it's kind of gross. It is kind of gross. But that's the way humanity lived for all of history up until the very recent, West, right? So, okay. Tom No Baka, pistol is your primary video, says, we all have that SHTF fantasy, but my mom lived through the Khmer Rouge. That was the Killing Fields, that movie back in the 80s. Here's one of the realities. My grandpa was a local militia, but even he was more focused on running and getting to safety rather than kidding up. You're most likely to get you and your family to safety than to grab your 300 blackout SBR and plates. That's good intel, right? So his father was a militia, and he was more primary concern for a militia guy was getting the heck out of there, right? Getting you and your family to safety. Not like, let's set up to do this gun battle. That's a bad idea, right? Yeah, I like that. That's great. Pistol is your primary. I think I talked about Kyle Rittenhouse, and people have been jumping all over me for that. But he says, corn pop, that's funny. Oh yeah, he goes on to insult me more. He says, I love how you ask why Rittenhouse was at the gas station like he doesn't have a right to freedom of movement, yet you didn't ask why all those rioters were out there destroying an entire city. Do I have to ask that? Do I have to say, why were they rioting? Oh man, that's so interesting. I thought that was implied. Like, do I have to bring that up? Look, here's the point that I was trying to make, and me and him go back and forth. I said, just because you're free to do something, like I wasn't questioning Rittenhouse in the sense that he doesn't have the freedom to do that. Of course he has the freedom to do it. Just because you're free to do something doesn't mean it's good to do, or it's smart to do, or that you should do it, right? Just because you're free to do something doesn't mean that you should. That's what I said. And then he comes back. He says, weak men definitely create hard times. So he's implying there that Kyle Rittenhouse is a hard man and I am a weak man. That's what he's saying. And he goes, even my neutral replies are getting erased now. I responded, I do not remove comments. I only respond to them. So I don't know what comment he put that was moved or that was removed. I don't know. But that wasn't me. So here's the point. Like you're free to vote, you're free to protest, of course you're free to do all those things. I'm free to open carry everywhere in my state. That doesn't mean that it's the smartest thing to do. I did it for a while and but there are places and times where it's not smart to do that. I'll give you an example. So the law here in Washington state is you can open carry as long as it's not in a time, place, or manner in which that causes alarm. A time, place, or manner which causes alarm. How vague is that? That's pretty doggone vague, right? So if somebody is alarmed because of where you're at, when you have it or how you're carrying it, then you've broken the law. Okay, so you're free to do it. You're free to do so. It's just not smart to do so everywhere all the time. Okay, and if there's a riot, like not necessarily a protest. Obviously, you're free to go to a protest, but if there's a riot, okay, if things are turning into a riot, is it the smartest thing to do for me to kit up and go to where that place is, to where the mob is doing mob things? I say no, okay? Now, maybe for a young single man, and he's, fired up and he believes in the cause, whatever that cause is, and he goes, okay. But I'm not. I'm 50. I'm a father. I'm a family man. I have other priorities that come first. Even if, and I had a guy respond, because I said, someone said that was his relative's gas station that he was defending. I'm not too keen on, and he says, well, and I said something like, you can't, I don't think deadly force is justified with stuff and things. Like if somebody's stealing your stuff, it's not authorized. It's not justified. And he said, well, they're stealing your property, which allows you to make a living, which means they're attacking your life. So therefore, okay. Between now and world without rule of law, I just hope you can make that case in court. Like, you got to be smart, man. You're free to do all kinds of crap. You're free to do all kinds of crap. But a lot of that stuff, if you're not smart and if you're not wise with how you use your freedom, you'll end up in jail with no freedom. And your family will be by themselves prepping for what's to come. That's just how I feel about it, dude. Yeah. If that makes me a weak man, okay, I guess I'm weak then. Hard times are coming with or without me. So just so you know. War, debt, and control. We aren't going to war, common sense says. It's just strikes. Why does everybody keep claiming this? You're better than that, sir. We're not going to war. I know, nobody goes to war anymore. There are no more wars. Afghanistan wasn't a war. Iraq wasn't a war. It was Operation Iraqi Freedom. What was it? What was the other one? Operation. I forget the operation when I was over there. Yeah, they're just operations. There's no more wars. It's just operations now. If you think that that's not the same thing as war, or that the causes aren't the same, or that the results are not the same, I have some beachfront property on the moon to sell you. Yeah, why does everybody keep claiming this? You're better than that, sir. Okay. Apparently I'm not better than that, because for all intents and purposes, this is the new way to wage war. I'll say it that way. How about that? Like, it's not war. Nobody's declared war. Okay. Well, we've declared operation on people all over the globe. Another declared operation. Yeah, they're just changing the words, dude, to make us feel better. We're not ready. Encephalitis. I had AI look at your video and asked it to recreate you talking about prepping canned foods, and it gave me a video of you doing it. Why are people putting my content in AI? I guess that was inevitable, right? I should have seen that coming. Someone else said that too. They had AI summarize one of my videos, and it was like, it's conspiratorial, and I told them, I said, show me, send me this video. I want to see this video of me on. And I wonder too, is that one of the more expensive models that you have to use to generate a whole video? Like, can I just put the link to one of my videos in AI and then say, redo this video and make my beard fuller and my teeth wider? I'd buy that for $1. That's funny. He didn't put it in there though. We're not ready. Video, the AI video. Crunk Diddlyumptious says the guy that wrote that article is lying. The analysis of it is shoddy. So Matt Schumer's article is a lie, okay? And then my analysis of it is shoddy. Shoddy. What does shoddy mean? Shoddy means like poorly done, poorly executed. Okay. Well, it's one of my most popular videos, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm okay with that. War, debt, and control. Scott Peskowitz says, how can anyone not be blackpilled after this latest war? Hey, Scott, it's an operation. Did you mean after this latest operation? No amount of voting will fix this mess. It is a disaster. You know, I thought about this. Whenever I come across a comment that I find myself hearting comments that support my views, so that's the confirmation bias, right? Where when I read a comment that says what I'm already thinking or what I said in the video, I'm like, that's a great insight. It's just because they totally agree with me. So take my designation of insightful information that also confirms what I already believe. So take all of this with a grain of salt, okay? So I'm like, that's great intel. I just mean I like it that he agrees with me. So, but I agree with him. I think no amount of voting will fix this. It's a big mess. Country Trumpkin, one of my regular viewers. My war, debt, and control video, he doesn't like it. So he actually asked me, he goes, hey, what's the best way to do this? Should I give it a thumbs down? Should I give it a thumbs up and then leave a comment? Should I just send you a comment? Should I email you? So I appreciated him like asking permission. And Country, you can put whatever you want in my comments. I'm not seeing you coming from a hateful spot. So you can give me all the feedback and I will take it seriously and read it well. So he didn't like the video though. He eventually said it. I said, give me a thumbs up and give me a comment to support the channel. And he goes, no, but I don't want a thumbs up because it's not good. I don't like it. I said, okay, whatever. Just leave a comment then. I said, I don't track the likes. Like I don't track thumbs up and thumbs down. I don't even look at that. I've never looked at that for any of my videos. I said, I just read the comments. So leave your feedback in the comments. So I think he's going to do that. I think Country Trumpkin is a Trump supporter. And I think I talked a little bit of trash about Trump at the beginning of that one. So like Iran and all that. Powdered Buns 8251 on the We're Not Ready AI video says, AI is trash, all caps. AI is trash. Nictophile 13, War, Debt, and Control. My perspective is that Anthropic did not bluff. So while they did lose the contract, they didn't lose the moral righteousness of their stance. It may well mean the end of their company, but at least they have my respect for effing trying. I agree with that. I agree with that. I've heard some interesting commentary on Anthropic's philosophical beliefs about AI. And it gets weird. Like they truly believe that they are creating God. They are creating a God with AI. They believe that. So like it's one of their core values, one of their core tenets, their core beliefs. And because of that, it boils down to, we can't let you use this for unrighteous reasons because it's going to be. So yeah, there's some weird stuff. There's some weird stuff about what some of these companies believe. But the argument that I heard was, well, what happened now though? So Sam Altman comes in with OpenAI, gives those concessions. Like the concession was, instead of like, I'm gonna misquote it here, but instead of saying, you can't use this AI to kill people, Sam Altman's sentence there, the agreement said something like, you can't use it to intentionally kill people. But they added the word intentionally. It's like, okay, well, so a bunch of people are ditching OpenAI. I think do they run Claude? I think they run Claude. So a bunch of people are ditching Claude and moving to something else or whatever. But yeah, I agree that it was a courageous move if they were sincere. But now another company who doesn't have the same morals or scruples has their hands on the wheel, and Anthropic doesn't. So if Anthropic at least had a stance that, hey, we shouldn't use this to spy on the American, now another company will fill the vacuum that doesn't care how it gets used, and they'll let the Pentagon use it however they want. So I don't know that that's better. That sounds like a lose-lose to me. But yeah, I mean, I guess you got to try. But it might be the end of them, though, from what I'm hearing. War, Debt, and Control. Michael Domning says, mostly agree, not the usual 100%. War Iran regime was a genuine threat to our allies in the region. Butchering their own people, never going to change based on religious fervor. Pandered to for decades, just long enough to stand on the threshold of nuclear weapons. Okay, as long as our response is not an elongated ground campaign, the world is a better place. So I'm just gonna, he talks about debt and controls, but I'm just gonna talk about this first piece. First of all, on the threshold of nuclear weapons, that has been dangled in front of us for decades, okay? They haven't been on the threshold for decades. That has been told to us for decades. And I'm not sure it's true. I'm not sure it's true, okay? You know, we armed Israel, right? Israel has nukes, from what I understand. So, I mean, Iran, in their own best interests, are like, we should probably have those too. You know, again, I'm not saying Iran's a good place, but... And this one too, as long as our response is not an elongated ground campaign, the world is a better place. That's the world is a better place? Are you kidding? Is the Middle East a better place than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago before we were sticking our nose in it over there? I'm not sure that that's true. I'm not sure that's true. I would argue that we have more instability, more enemies over there, and more volatility in the region overall. But I'm not a foreign policy expert. I am not. I will grant you that. So, but this line here, as long as it's not an elongated ground campaign, do you know why that's so important? Because the government, the U.S. government, has figured out that is the trigger point for the American public. Okay, like earlier when that guy said, it's not a war, it's an operation. That's an important switch, because that switch was done on purpose. That's a marketing term that has been used against us. And here's what I mean. They know we don't want troops on the ground, okay? We don't want to see American deaths. So what they figured out is they can still pretty much get what they want. They can control the country, they can control the resources, access to the resources, they can put in the puppet that they want in place for the most part without ever having troops on the ground. And when I say troops, I use that term loosely because we definitely always have troops on the ground ahead of time. It's just you don't hear about them. It's contractors, so we don't have to report them, or it's special operations, which they can't tell us about anyway. What you mean is army occupying Iran. They will never do that because they know that that's the tipping point for the American public to go, hey, we hate this idea, right? Because once our sons and daughters start dying over there, that's when people have a problem with it. So that's the line they don't cross anymore. So what they do is they just soften them up with CIA and special ops, and then we soften them up some more with all of our cruise missiles and until they're nice and soft, and we still get our way without ever having to put boots on the ground. Elongated? Yeah. Afghanistan and Iraq, yeah, it's elongated, all right. It's just that long tail is invisible. It's like buried under the sand. How's that for a metaphor? That's pretty good. War, debt, and control. Nothing is new under the sun. I love that from Go Home 99. He says, recommending reading includes War is a Racket and The Creature from Jekyll Island. And I put under that Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Creature from War is a Racket. War is a Racket and Jekyll Island. I'm not a big reader, but one guy commented on my first video from my first week. You don't need these. You don't need a water purification, a fire kit. Says the only thing I agree with you on is rifle and mags. Most people commute 40 miles to work in rural areas. You assume a lot. This is all caps. You assume you will not need that fixed blade to cut down wood to make a splint for a twisted ankle. You assume it will not take you 5 days to travel 40 miles. You assume, he goes on and on, you will not need that mirror or compass for first aid, or that paracord to replace your shoelaces, or that small cook kit for a hot meal, by the way, to keep you warm and have that nice cup of coffee. Yes, I'll keep the 10 C's. And by the way, I'm a retired 18 Bravo. Okay, Paul Rutledge. Oh, I hate it when people give me their resume. By the way, I'm a retired 18 Bravo. I should put in my thing up top, like when I respond to these, I'll go, by the way, I'm a retired body man, so I'm just throwing that out there. I'm a retired welder fabricator. Okay, again, you guys know, my regular viewers know that the regular slant of mine is that the 68% don't need those things. I still believe that. I've had my channel for going on 8 months, and I have not been convinced otherwise. There are some people in some places that probably need more stuff, okay? 83%. I said I'm not assuming for my scenario. My scenario, I am an expert in my scenario, and I know that I don't need those things. 83% of the population lives in or near urban centers, okay? Not 40 miles. You say most people commute 40 miles. That's not true. The stat that I think you're misquoting, most people commute 20 miles, okay? One way, and then round trip. So when they say they commute 40 miles, that stat, I've read that same stat for the 83%. What they mean is most people live within 20 miles of where they work. That's the stat, okay? I'm not really assuming fixed blade knife, so I twist my ankle on the way home, the 16 miles, and I'm walking home quickly, or I'm riding my bike, in my case. I need a fixed blade because if I twist my ankle, I'm gonna cut down some wood to make a splint. I'm gonna whittle a splint with my fixed blade knife to make it the rest of the way home. Bro, 5 days to travel 40 miles, that might be true, right? But I'm not going for 40 miles, I'm going 15. So, worst case, it would take me 2 days, you know, with shelter all along the way, with access to, yep, 18 Bravo. By the way, I'm a retired 18 Bravo. I don't even know what that is. What is an 18 Bravo? Is that an infantry? Is that a grunt? By the way, I'm a retired 18 Bravo. That's probably the 7th time total in my comments where I've gotten somebody telling me they're an 18 Bravo. Or maybe an 18 Echo. Ugh. I think this water is rotten. Can water be rotten? War, debt, and control. Bengals 95. This is a regular for me. Everyone was all concerned that we were going to war in Venezuela, but that was over in a few hours. This will take longer than that, but Trump has been the best foreign policy president of this century. Just let it cook. If it turns out bad, I will reevaluate my stance. Okay. Going to war. I don't think anybody thought we were going to war in Venezuela, but I wouldn't be as concerned about going to war with Venezuela. I'm actually more concerned that we just decided to take over Venezuela. Like, just arrest the president, take it over, claim the resources, and do what we want. Like, that seems like a more concerning thing. Like, is that even legal? I don't know, right? And then, so I'm not concerned about going to war, and I'm also not concerned with the time. And it's not over in a few hours. We arrested Maduro in a few hours. We're still there running things. We still have people there controlling and pulling the strings, and we're going to be involved with Venezuela for years to come. Okay? There's no such thing. That little short time frame is like, hey, we're in and out, mission accomplished. That's for you and me to see on the news to go, whoo, that was quick. I remember the march to Baghdad. It was 90 days. Was it 90 days? The 90-day war or whatever it was. Yeah, and then we just stayed there. Then the war's over in 90 days, right? And then we just stayed there. Trump being the best foreign policy president of this century. Now, again, I'm post-political. I don't believe in red or blue. I hate all of them. I think they're all liars, professional liars. I will give Trump some credit. And here's where I'll give Trump some credit. To me, Trump is kind of like a bull in a china shop. Like, I remember watching the first debate and watching Jeb Bush when Trump brought up the war in Iraq. And I remember Jeb Bush, just the look on his face, he was so dumbfounded. He had no idea how to handle this guy that was just talking smack and for the most part telling the truth at the time. And Jeb was like, bop, 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 bop. It was the funniest thing I'd seen in a long time. Or him and Hillary trading jabs. The political class had no idea what to do with Trump. But that was like 8 to 10 years ago. Now, he's with each passing month, he's looking more and more like one of the regular old in the club politicians. He's doing things. He's doing it in his bull in a china shop way, but he's looking more and more like a regular politician. Now, is he the best foreign policy president? Maybe. I feel like foreign policy is just playground rules expanded out to countries, right? Like you have to walk around and you have to pick the biggest bully and you have to punch him right in the nads and get him to drop to the ground, right? So I understand like the what is it called? Deterrence. I understand deterrence. I understand bluffing. I understand show of force. I understand escalation of force. I know all of those and he's been good at it, right? He has kept most of the countries in line. But this recent spat of whatever the heck he's doing, I don't know, man. Like you said, let it cook if it turns out bad. Like, what does success look like? That would be my question. I think he's propping up the petrodollar. It's like Weekend at Bernie's. The dollar is just a dead corpse, and we're like, we put sunglasses on it. Where am I? Do I have sunglasses here? Yeah. So this will be my thumbnail too, probably. Like, Weekend at Bernie's. Like, it's just a corpse that we've propped up, and we're parading it around, and I think we're just buying time to do all the things. And I don't think the results for us. So in that video, I talked about more war, more debt, and more control. Are those three things true for Trump? Now they are. What people were doing before is they were like, nope, he's never gone to war. He said no more what? So now we can't say that anymore, right? Do we have more war? Yeah, we do. Do we have more debt? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do. Do we have more control? Less freedom? Oh, yeah. Trump is warp speeding like he did with the vaccine. He's like, vroom, Operation Warp Speed. It's so quick and so fast and so bullet trainish. Like he is rocket training the technocratic prison being built around us. They're fast tracking that stuff. So we'll see. I would ask you, Bengals, to define success. Like, what does that mean? What does success look like? Like, China doesn't have access to the same amount of oil? Okay. Like, they're not equipped to take over Taiwan, or they're, okay. They have to do what we want because we have the resources they need. I could see that. You take out the enemy's legs before they have a chance to run at you. I understand that concept. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of information. Belgian prepper here. Belgian prepper in Belgium, storing guns at home legally requires first obtaining the proper authorization under the Strict Weapons Act. Firearms are generally prohibited without a license, and you must qualify. Key steps before you can possess firearms in the home: be at least 18, have a clean record, provide a medical certificate, pass a theoretical test on firearms laws and safety, pass a practical test on handling firearms, prove a legitimate reason, i.e. hunting or valid. Just thinking my phone ran out of storage, so the video cut out. So I think I ended with Belgian preppers list of requirements, and it makes me feel bad because I put out a video whining about our requirements over here, and it's nothing compared to what they have to go through. So it made me feel better. Bad for them, but good for us. Let's see. Okay. Chris Lockwood says, it's incredible that you're blowing the whistle or fear-mongering about how AI is going to take all of our jobs, but then you recommend everybody start utilizing AI and working with it for an hour a day. WTF? I'm good. You're like that guy out of fear says we can't beat them, so we must join them. Actually, you do the opposite when you don't support something or that something doesn't deserve you. Crypto Kiwi supports me, says, stupid take. You either adapt or be left behind. don't feel like I'm fear mongering anymore. Like I've explained before, it's from a position of knowledge now, not ignorance. But I struggle with the same thing. You might be right. Right? I watch people talk about how they use AI in their job, and there's this quiet tension in the room as they explain, and we're all like, oh shoot, wait, if that's so it's doing like 20% of the work you used to do? Like how long until a manager or a director or somebody goes, yeah, but I'm not going to pay you to do 80% of your job anymore. I'm going to pay you less and less hours and less, you know. So are we implementing the things that will replace us? Potentially. Potentially. Right now, I'm choosing to adapt. A year from now, I may go, oh, that didn't work. And I'm adapting over here, but I'm also doing things over here to support me when this doesn't work. So I'm doing both. I'm doing both. This is going to happen regardless. I may be able to slow it down though. And that's all I'm trying to do. I think eventually, I've said this before, I feel like my job will be done by AI in 2 to 3 years, probably. So I'm trying to change and pivot and adapt in ways that will prolong that, while at the same time building up alternate revenue streams to just gracefully back out when the time comes. So, but you might be right. At first I was pissed when I read your comment, but I was like, you might be right. Hurt Feelings Report 35. So Seth, one of my sponsors over at Wahletec, he says, I talked about lubrication, REM oil, and he says, I also never see anybody using spray-on lubricants like molybdenum disulfide, or tungsten disulfide. They hold up really well in harsh conditions where wet lubricants fail, and they do not attract grime where wet lubes do. That sure is good intel. You should start selling those on your website, Seth. First of all, I don't even know what those are, and I don't know where to get them. Is it white lithium grease? No. Disulfide. Molybdenum disulfide and tungsten disulfide. I'll have to look that up. I said nice. I'll have to look into those. Candace Crow, Hurt Feelings Report 35 says, Mike Tango Whiskey, I am still not a bot. A bot would never have the guts to remind you that you never removed your therapist hat the whole rest of the episode, so the whole episode constitutes a therapy session, not an HFR. I would like a replacement, please. P.S. I think you're a popular person, and you say non-zero amount of things that I find of benefit. That angry guy doesn't know anything. Yeah, some guy told me I don't say anything of any benefit, and I don't know. It was pretty funny. But I put on my therapy hat to answer a young man who left a comment, and then I never took the therapy hat. So I was a therapist the whole last Hurt Feelings Report, which makes sense because it's the Hurt Feelings Report, right? OPSEC. My OPSEC on my live sessions is very good. Yeah, I had a guy like asking me some personal questions, but okay. Hurt Feelings Report 34. So 2 Hurt Feelings Reports ago. Jacob Boy, I mentioned something. I talked about COVID in that one. So I'm going to end on this one because this is from 6 days ago. And he goes, so are you anti-vaccine? I thought you like to research shite like this, like how vaccines work and stuff. It seems like it would be pretty pertinent information to know for a prepper. How herd immunity keeps everyone's babies from getting measles and dying. The society that comes after us will still need to immunize to things like flu and measles. That just doesn't go away. Now, if you were more focused on how the government responded to COVID, that makes sense. But I really want to know, do you think COVID isn't real or something? Because people still get it all the time and there is no cure for it, just like the flu. It killed a lot of people. Not going to push this too hard because you don't seem like you talk about it that often, and I like your other videos. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to talk about, I don't want to talk about COVID here because I think I said in that Hurt Feelings Report, I feel like COVID is a litmus test. Anybody who didn't come out of COVID at least going, man, I don't know if we were told the whole truth. A little bit red-pilled or better yet black-pilled, if they didn't come out of, that's like a litmus test for me for free thinking and critical thinking. All the crap that happened. So I've talked about that many times. I don't want to go into that here. What I want to leave, where I want to end today, and I'll read my response to him, but where I want to, I want to talk about how I felt about the vaccine regime before COVID, okay? Obviously, I believe in vaccines. I know what vaccination is. I know how it works. I know that when you catch some sort of pathogen, your body develops response to that and you're better equipped to fight it the next time. I understand all of that, okay? So vaccines in the traditional sense are obviously good, okay? It is good to do that. Now, the regular natural way that used to happen is you would catch the thing and then you would develop a response, but obviously some diseases are deadlier than others. So vaccinations come in and they want to, preset your immunity to these things that you may not be familiar with. In the military, I was pumped full. I had 7 courses of anthrax vaccines. I've got the smallpox scar. I got yellow fever before I went over to Korea. Like I am loaded up. Okay. But I'm gonna reframe your question. You say, so are you anti-vaccine? I'm not anti-vaccine. And let me give you an analogy or a metaphor. So let's say that you found out that your favorite bread, that the bread that they served in your kid's school had poison in it, okay? Which by the way, adjacent to this, also do some research on the bread that we eat. It's barely bread, like it's really bad. But anyway, let's say you found out there was some terrible, lead in your bread at school, at your kid's school, and they were feeding it to your kids. And it's all they had, like it's the bread that they had to give, it's the only bread that they served in the lunchroom. And then you were like, well, I don't want my kid to eat that bread. And then the lunch lady was like, are you anti-bread? Like, no, I just don't want poison in the bread that you're feeding to my kid or the bread that you give to me. Do you have any poison-free bread? Sir, this is the bread that we have. And they have to eat it. They're going to. And if they don't eat the bread that we serve in the lunchroom, they can't come to school here. Okay. So I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm anti what they've done with the vaccines and with the vaccine schedule. Okay. And let me give you a couple just things that red pilled me way before COVID. So when COVID came, I recognized some things because I had already been in this space a little bit, just by virtue of having a big family. Here's some startling things, okay? Just some things to chew on when it comes to vaccines. The medical industry and the medical system in general is now based on sickness and profit, right? I think most people can kind of see that. Anybody who's been through a sickness certainly can see that. Reagan, I believe it was Reagan, President Reagan, instituted some sort of legislation that made it so you cannot sue a vaccine manufacturer. You cannot sue the pharmaceutical companies. Okay. Well, let me back up for a second. The pharmaceutical lobby is the biggest lobby right now in politics. Like it's the most money happens, even more than like the industrial military complex, right? The pharmaceutical lobby is the most powerful lobby in Washington, period. Like that's a fact. That on its own is disturbing. So then back in the 80s, it was President Reagan who made some law that said you and me, when we're damaged or injured from a product from one of the major pharmaceutical companies, we cannot sue them. We cannot take them to court. And they developed a separate, kind of a secret secondary court system for judging those cases. And I forget what it's called, vaccine court or something, where you have to go through them, right? And when they settle, when they find that something's liable, there's still a way for you to get compensation for your damages, but it doesn't go public. It's not public. And most of the time, part of those settlements end up being with NDAs. So yeah, we'll pay you for your illness or whatever happened to you, but you can't talk about it ever, right? So that was number one, is they made it so there's no accountability. There's no incentive for safety when you can't get in trouble when your product is bad. That was the kind of the first big domino. The second one is how after that happened, the vaccine schedule for children, so like the time frame from birth to 3 or 5, the vaccine schedule, whatever it is. When I was young, like back in the 70s and 80s, I think there was like 12 or 15, maybe 18 vaccines on the vaccine schedule. This vaccine schedule is the ones that the FDA says, your kids have to have these. Like these are the ones they have to get along the way before they're a certain age. Now, this is as of like 2 years ago, the vaccine schedule has 72 vaccines on it. 72. So it's gone from, it's almost quadrupled, right? From 18 all the way up to 72. It's like 4x. And there's no accountability. So, and I say, most of like the education system has basically made it mandatory. There are ways you can opt out. There, in some places it varies, right? Philosophical, religious, medical exemptions. But it's pretty much mandatory for you to go to school, for you to go to college, for you to get medical care in some cases. So just think about that setup. So let's say the product that I make, you take away all incentive to do it safely. So what's my motivation to do it safely? And we'll talk about that in a second. So I lose I don't get in trouble when it's not done well. Why would I pay money to do it well? I'm going to do it as fast and efficient as possible. That's number one. There's no accountability. Nothing happens when I get it wrong. Number two is it's mandatory. Everybody has to do it. Think about if that happened in any other industry. Let's say McDonald's wiggled their way in to the school system. Or let's back up for a second. Let's say McDonald's lobbied so that inspection of their food, like the content of their food, the FDA wasn't allowed to do that. Nobody could inspect what's in a McDonald's hamburger anymore, okay? That's just gone. And it's already trash, but imagine what would happen then. So you remove that. Then you make it mandatory for all schools to serve McDonald's. That's a recipe for corruption. I have a friend who's an accountant, his wife is an accountant, and she talked about the trifecta for corruption. It's like opportunity, means, and something. I forget the 3 points of that corruption triangle. But those are absolutely present when it comes to the pharmaceuticals, right? So the setup is there. There's no incentive for safety. It's mandatory, right? And nothing happens when you get it wrong. So now you're incentivized to do as much and as fast as possible. When you start to look into the way that they're tested, okay, the gold standard being double-blind safety testing for pharmaceuticals and things like that. When you start to dig, when you start to really look, do a legitimate deep dive into the safety protocols to bring these things to market, and you'll be shocked. But it makes sense. It makes sense that that's the way they're running because there's no incentive to do it safely, okay? There's no incentive to do it safely. Then you have the thousands and thousands of people who all report the exact same effects, like their kids were normal one day and the next day they weren't, right? There's so much information. Vaxxed 1, Vaxxed 2, like those are not crazy people. They're not conspiracy theorists. They're not preppers. They're not any of that. These are just parents who went through it themselves, who all report the exact same thing happening in the exact same way at the exact same. It's overwhelming, and it's dumb to look at all of that and go, it's probably nothing. It's probably nothing, okay? So I'm not, here's my response. Here's my response to him. So I said, there's way too much nuance, and this was the nuance that I just put on camera here for you and me to sift through it in the comments, but I will say this. Here's what I'm against. I'm not against sound medical practice. That's stupid, right? Here's what I'm against. I'm against being emotionally manipulated, misled, lied to, coerced, poisoned, or threatened with force for non-compliance. On any topic, I'm against those things. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. If you're doing those things and I catch you doing those things, boom, I don't trust you, what you're saying, and what you're trying to peddle. Okay, that's done. Whether they come from individuals, organizations, or institutions. It is inevitable that eventually I will say something that you disagree with. And this is true for everybody watching right now. You may be pissed after what I just described to you. Continue to watch or don't. You are free to choose. Okay, just like I'm free to choose, you're free to choose. You watch me blather on long enough on these videos, and eventually I'm going to say something that most of you are not going to agree with. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay. Okay, that's going to happen. It will happen. So, yeah, am I anti? I'm just anti being lied to. I'm anti being manipulated. I'm anti being poisoned. And if I catch you doing those things, then I'm not going to participate in whatever you're trying to do. I'm just not going to. There was one more thing that I was going to say on the, oh shoot, what is that? The anecdotal evidence. I forgot. I'm going to drag out the very end here and make it a terrible ending. So I'll just end there. This is Mike Tango Whiskey, and this has been another Hurt Feelings Report, and I will see you guys next week. I'm out. No, wait. Mike Tango Whiskey, I'm all clear. That's what it's supposed to be, right?